Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my 2023 NCAA Tournament predictions. So we're going to be going over my prediction for every game. I'll be filling out my bracket today, as you guys can see up on screen. So, starting off, we have 1-seeded Alabama against the 16-seed either Texas A&M Corpus Christi or Southeast Missouri. They play in the first four. So this one is very easy. Alabama is the number 1 overall seed. 1 seeds almost never lose. So I will take Alabama to move on. Moving on to 8-seeded Maryland against 9-seeded West Virginia. So this one's a bit more interesting in the first round matchups, and especially the 8-9 games. So historically, 8-9 matchups are pretty close. The 8-seed holds the slight advantage 88-84. So West Virginia, they're the more experienced team, but I think Maryland is the better team here. They'll get the win here. But Maryland is a very interesting team because at home and on the road, they're two completely different teams. At home, they're 16-1. On the road, they're 2-9. Now, obviously, this is a neutral site game, but in those games, Maryland is 3-2. I really don't know for this game, but I will take Maryland in a very, very close game. Next game, we've got 5-seed San Diego State against 12-seed College of Charleston. So people love to pick the 12-5 upsets here. In fact, there's been a 12-5 upset in 32 of the 37 tournaments since the tournament expanded. There could definitely be one here. Charleston is a good team. They had a great season, 31-3 record, and they entered the tournament on a 10-game winning streak. For San Diego State, they've got a great defense, only allowing 63.6 points a game. They've also won 9 of their last 10. I could see this going either way. I could definitely see the upset, but I got San Diego State advancing. Next game, we've got 4-seed Virginia against 13-seed Furman. So, Virginia was a team that won a share of the ACC title, and they were the runner-up in the ACC tournament to Duke. Furman has a very high-powered offense, scoring 82 points a game, and they face a Virginia team that doesn't give up many points a game. This is also interesting because Furman is from the Southern Conference, and the last time the Southern Conference had a team win a tournament game when they were seeded 11 or worse was 26 years ago, so history isn't on the side of Furman on this in this instance. But for Virginia, they've lost to some lower-seeded teams. In fact, 3 of their last 4 losses in the tournament have come to teams seeded 10 or worse. So this is a game I could definitely see going either way. Virginia, obviously, isn't usually great in these tournaments, but I will take Virginia to beat Furman and advance. Next game, we've got 6-seeded Creighton versus 11-seeded NC State. NC State's a team with just one quad 1 win all season long. They have to face a good Creighton team with a good offense. Don't have a ton to say about this game. Creighton advances pretty easily. Next game, we've got 3-seeded Baylor against a 14-seeded UCSB. So Baylor, they're coming off a loss to Iowa State in their first game of the Big 12 tournament, but they're just too good to lose here in the first round. They have a great offense, the second best adjusted offensive rating in the country. They've also got, they also average about 77 points a game. Now there could be an upset here for Baylor because each of the past 3 seeds to lose in the first round have come from the Big 12, and obviously Baylor is a Big 12 team, but I have Baylor defeating UCSB. Next team, we've got Missouri against Utah State, a 7-10 matchup. So this is another matchup I really don't know. I think this should be a higher scoring game as both teams could easily put up points. 7-10 matchups are a lot like 8-9 matchups in the fact they're pretty even. Historically, 7 seeds win 60% of the time. And speaking of historically, neither team, in this case Missouri or Utah State, has done that well. Missouri has lost their last 5 tournament appearances in the first round, and Utah State is 1 and 17 in their last 18 tournament games, which date back to 1970. A game I could see going either way. I got Missouri moving on. In the final first-round game in the upper left region, we've got 2-seed Arizona against 15-seed Princeton. So Princeton, they had to upset Yale in the Ivy League title game just to get here. Now they face a really good Arizona team who won the Pac-12 championship. No 15-2 upset here. Arizona moves on. Moving to the East region, we've got 1-seeded Purdue against the winner of Texas Southern against Fairleigh Dickinson, which they play each other in the first 4. I would never pick a 16-1 upset because in 148 matchups, 1 seeds have lost to a 16 seed exactly once. So I'll take Purdue easily over whoever wins the first 4 game. Next up, we've got a very interesting 8-9 matchup that is 8-seeded Memphis against 9-seeded Florida Atlantic. So Florida Atlantic is looking to win their first tournament game ever. Memphis, they're coming in hot, winning 8 of their last 10 games and also beating 1-seeded Houston in the AAC title game. I could see this game going either way. Memphis, they're on a roll right now. I have them continuing that, knocking off FAU to advance to the second round. Up next, we got 12-seeded Oral Roberts against 5-seeded Duke. So this is a 12-5 upset I really want to pick. Oral Roberts is a team, they've got a great player in Max Asmus. He could put up points easily. They've got a team that can score a lot of points easily. And this is an upset I would really, really want to pick, but I think Oral Roberts got the worst possible draw as a 12-seed. In fact, I would take them over every single other 5-seed. But now, this is what really makes this game for me. Duke is not a top 4 seed for the 4th time in school history, and in the previous 2 times they haven't been a top 4 seed. They've been upset in the first round. So, despite everything I just said with how I take Oral Roberts over every other 5 seed, I'm taking them over Duke too. Oral Roberts advances with our first major upset of the tournament. Next up, we've got 4-seed Tennessee versus 13-seed Louisiana. So Tennessee is a tremendous defensive team, but they are dealing with some injuries. For example, to starting point guard Zakai Ziegler, who tore his ACL. Now, I could see Louisiana with the upset, but I still think Tennessee is good enough to advance, even though they do have some injuries, but Tennessee advances. Next up, we've got 6-seed Kentucky versus 11-seed Providence. So Kentucky's only a 6-seed. They didn't have a great season for their standards, but they're still a very good team. Providence is the team headed in the wrong direction. They've lost 4 of their last 5. And I have Kentucky beating the sliding Providence team to advance to the second round. Next up, we've got 3-seed Kansas State versus 14-seed Montana State. So Kansas State has had a great season. That'll continue here with a win over Montana State. I don't really have a ton to say about this game, but Kansas State advances. Next up, we've got 7-seeded Michigan State against 10-seed USC. Another interesting matchup. Both teams have played pretty well this season. Michigan State has played a tough Big Ten schedule. They've been up and down all season, but I trust them. I trust Tom Izzo. I've got Michigan State getting the win here to play the winner of 2-seed Marquette against 15-seed Vermont. So Marquette, they've been one of the best teams in the country all season long. They're coming off a big Big East title win, and I have Marquette advancing over Vermont. Oops, sorry, Marquette, not Vermont. Next, moving over to the Midwest side of the bracket, on the right side, we've got 1-seed Houston against 16-seed North Kentucky. Once again, I would never pick a 16-seed, so Houston will easily advance. Next up is an interesting 8-9 matchup. A lot of these 8-9 matchups are very interesting, but 8-seeded Iowa versus 9-seeded Auburn. This is a very interesting matchup because I could see this game going either way. Iowa's got a prolific scorer in Chris Murray, but they've underperformed in the tournament recently. And Auburn, they do struggle to score, but in the modern era of the tournament, or since 1985, they're 10-0 and undefeated in the first round. So I will take Auburn to advance and move to 11-0 in the first round since the tournament expanded in 1985. But this is a game I could definitely see going either way. Next up, we've got another upset potential. We've got 5-seed Miami against 12-seed Drake. So Drake is a very good 12-seed. They could win a game or two in the tournament. And Miami is a very good offensive team. They've got a great scorer, Isaiah Wong, but they have dealt with some injuries lately. Drake's a really good 12-seed. I'll take another 12-5 upset with Drake over Miami. Next up, we have 4-seed Indiana versus 13-seed Kent State. So Indiana is a very, very up-and-down team. It's a night and day difference, but I do think Indiana gets the win. But when they're on, they're a really, really good team. They're probably a top 10 team in the country. When they're not good at all. But I have Indiana advancing over Kent State here. But it's kind of weird. Indiana's a weird team because of how inconsistent they are. Next up, we've got a 6-seed Iowa State against an 11-seed either Mississippi State or Pitt, the winner of the first 4 matchup. So Iowa State, they've been playing well lately. They beat Baylor in the Big 12 tournament. And I could definitely see an upset here, but I've got Iowa State advancing. They've been playing well lately, and that'll continue here in the first round. Next game, we've got 3-seed Xavier versus 14 Kennesaw State. So Kennesaw State is making their first appearance in the NCAA Tournament, and I think they're going to be fired up. This is not going to be an easy game for Xavier. If you're looking for a 14-3 upset, I think this is your game to pick. Kennesaw State over Xavier, but I'm not going to do that here. I've got Xavier advancing. Next game, we've got 7-seed Texas A&M against 10-seed Penn State. So both teams made the final of their respective conference tournament. I have Penn State over Texas A&M here. I think they've been playing well. They've got a great player in Jalen Pickett. Penn State gets the win. Next game, we've got 2-seed Texas against 15-seed Colgate. So this is 3rd season in a row Colgate's won the Patriot League, and have made the tournament. And this is the third season in a row Colgate will see a first round exit, as they will lose to Texas. Texas is just way too good to lose in the first round. Next up, the final region, we've got the first round. That is the West region, where we've got 1 seed Kansas against 16 seed Howard. Again, I'm not going to pick against a 1 seed in the first round. I never will. Kansas has Bill Self returning to coaching them after he missed the Big 12 tournament. They will easily beat Howard. Next up, we've got 8 seed Arkansas versus 9 seed Illinois. Another 8-9 matchup that has been very, very difficult to pick. But I'm going to take Illinois, but this is a game I could definitely see going either way. But I got Illinois with the win. Up next, we got 5 seed St. Mary's versus 12 seed VCU. Another potential 12/5 upset, but I don't want to get too upset heavy here. St. Mary's has had a great season, and they face a good VCU team, but as I said, I don't want to get too upset heavy. I'll take St. Mary advancing. Up next, we've got 4 seed UConn versus 13 seed Iona. Iona is another team that could potentially pull off a 13/4 upset. They've been really good this season, but this game is in Albany, very close to UConn, and I'll take UConn advancing. They're a very, very good 4 seed. Up next, we got TCU, the 6 seed versus 11 seed, either Arizona State or Nevada. So since the first 4 was created, 10 of the past 11 tournaments which the first 4 has existed, a first 4 team has advanced past the first round. I think that happens here with Arizona State. I have them beating Nevada and then upsetting TCU. Now, the first 4 team advancing could also be Pitt or Mississippi State over Iowa State, but I've got Arizona State over Nevada and then over TCU in the first round. Next game, we've got 3 seed Gonzaga versus 14 seed Grand Canyon. This might not be an amazing Gonzaga team. They're still really good. They still have Drew Timme. They can easily score. They can put up a lot of points in a game. They should blow out Grand Canyon here with the easy win. Next up, we got 7 seed Northwestern versus 10 seed Boise State. Boise State's still seeking their first win in the NCAA Tournament. They're currently 0-8. And Northwestern is 1-0 in tournament history in the first round. They're looking to make it 2-0. And I think they do that here with a win over Boise State. And our final first round matchup, we've got 2 seed UCLA versus 15 seed UNC Asheville. So UCLA does have some injuries, but I do have them winning here as they're a good team and they can overcome those injuries in the first round. Back up to the top left in the South. For the second round, we've got Alabama versus Maryland. So Alabama is one of the best teams in the country, and as I said before, when Maryland isn't home, they don't play very well. So I've got Alabama advancing. Next up, we've got Virginia versus San Diego State. A game that'll be a lower scoring game. Both teams very, very good defensively. But I'll take Virginia in a close, low scoring game to advance. Although, another coin flip game for me, it could definitely be San Diego State. Moving on, we've got Baylor versus Creighton. So, I said the last game would be a low scoring game. This is going to be a higher scoring game. Both teams have great offenses. They can easily put a lot of points up on the board. So now I have Baylor with the win, but I definitely thought about this one for a long time. Creighton, they haven't beaten a team seeded 8 or better since 2002. Baylor's a 3 seed. I have them advancing, but it could definitely be Creighton. It's a very good Creighton team. Next up, we've got Arizona against Missouri. So Arizona, a very, very good team. I've got them defeating whoever advances, whether it's Missouri or Utah State. Arizona just too good here to lose in the second round, and they will advance to the Sweet 16. Moving on to the East, we've got Purdue against Memphis. So usually there is 1 seed that doesn't make it to the second weekend, and that has happened in 4 of the past 5 tournaments. They have fallen in either the first or second round. So if it happens this year, it will be Purdue losing to Memphis. So Memphis, they're coming off a big AAC tournament win over Houston, and I've also got them beating FAU in the first round. I've got them continuing their hot streak and upsetting Purdue. Purdue is the first 1 seed to exit. And Memphis with another major upset. Next game, we've got Oral Roberts versus Tennessee. So here's where the injuries hurt Tennessee, because they've got a great defense, but some of their injuries will impact how they play defensively. Oral Roberts, they're a fantastic offensive team, have a really, really good player, as I said, Max Asmus, who can easily score. They've got a team who can easily score points. It's 2021 all over again for Oral Roberts, as the Golden Eagles are in the Sweet 16 for the second time in the last 3 seasons. Next up, we've got Kentucky versus Kansas State. This is a game I could truly see going either way. So, my gut says Kentucky, but I've got Kansas State just barely sneaking past although a true coin flip game for me. Next game, we've got Michigan State versus Marquette. Michigan State struggled against some pretty good teams this season, but Marquette is one of the best teams in the country. I've got Marquette advancing. Back up top to the Midwest region, we've got Houston versus Auburn. So Auburn, they struggle to score. Now they face a tremendous defense in Houston. Now they might be without Marcus Sasser, but probably not, as he was just held out in the AAC title game just as a precautionary reason. So it definitely seems like he will be available for Houston in this game. And as I said, Auburn struggles to score. Houston's got one of the best defenses in college basketball. Houston advances extremely easily. Next up, we've got Drake versus Indiana. So, once again, what Indiana team will we get? Will we get the good team? Will we get the bad team? I really don't know. I could see this game going either way. Drake, as I said, is a very good team. They could win a game, maybe even two, maybe even more in this year's March Madness. But I got Indiana just barely advancing over Drake. Next up, we've got Iowa State versus Xavier. So, I'll take Xavier to advance here. Iowa State, as I said, I could see them getting upset in the first round. And I think Xavier's just a bit better, and they will advance. Last second round matchup in the upper right region. I believe that's the Midwest. We've got Texas versus Penn State. So Texas, they've been fantastic all season long. They're a great offensive team, great defensive team. And I've got Texas moving on to the Sweet 16 with a win over Penn State. And the final region for the second round is the West. We've got Kansas versus Illinois. So Kansas should win this game. Illinois hasn't performed very well in the last few NCAA tournaments. I've got Kansas advancing. They're one of the top teams in the country, and they will beat Illinois. Next up, we've got UConn versus St. Mary's. Another game in Albany for UConn, so very close to home. Great atmosphere. UConn moves on, but St. Mary's is a very, very good team, but I think UConn is a very, very good 4 seed, and they will advance. Next up, we've got Gonzaga versus Arizona State. Remember, that is not Nevada, that's Arizona State. So Gonzaga's got a tremendous offense. Arizona State's offense isn't great. Their defensive play isn't good enough to stop Drew Timme and Gonzaga's offense. Gonzaga will move on. And the final second round matchup, we've got Northwestern versus UCLA. So UCLA does have an injury they will definitely be without Jaden Clark, who's one of the best defensive guards in the country, won Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. Also, Adam Bona is dealing with an injury, but he might be back for this game. But with or without those players, UCLA should be able to move on. Back up to the top left in the South region for the Sweet 16. We've got Alabama versus Virginia. Virginia is good, but Alabama is really good. That's the difference here. Alabama's just a better team. They will advance. Oh, sorry. I just realized I have Creighton. It's supposed to be Baylor right there. But at next game, we've got Baylor versus Arizona. This is a tough game for me. Both teams are very, very good teams, but I'll take Arizona just barely advancing. But another game I could see going either way. And if I confused you guys there, that was supposed to be Baylor, not Creighton. I had accidentally misclicked the previous time. Down to the East in the Sweet 16, we've got Memphis against Oral Roberts. So Oral Roberts gets extremely lucky not having to play Purdue, even though I feel they match up fairly well against Purdue, and they could upset them should they face them. But Memphis is an easier team. This is a matchup between two lower seeded teams, and I've got Oral Roberts' Cinderella run continuing with a win over Memphis. They advance to the Elite Eight. Next game, we've got Marquette versus Kansas State. Another very close game. I'll take Marquette, just barely sneaking past. They've been very good all season long, and they've been able to beat the good teams as well. So they will move on to play Oral Roberts in the Elite Eight. Back up to the Midwest, we've got Houston against Indiana. So Houston, a very good, consistent team against a streaky, inconsistent Indiana team. Houston will advance with a win over Indiana. Next game, we've got Xavier versus Texas. So I'm a big fan of Texas this season. A very, very good team. As I said before, they score, they defend. They've been really good. They will defeat Xavier and move on. And down to the West region, Kansas versus UConn. So, good game. Close game between two really good teams, but I've got Kansas with the win. They've been one of the best teams in college basketball all season long, and they will advance to the Elite Eight. And the final Sweet 16 matchup, we've got UCLA against Gonzaga. So, this is where the injuries hurt UCLA. They are a great defensive team. But as I said before, Jaden Clark, Adam Bona, both fantastic defensive players. I don't think UCLA will be able to stop Gonzaga's offense, the best offense in college basketball, and Gonzaga will advance to the Elite Eight. Back up to the South for the Elite Eight between 1 seed Alabama and 2 seed Arizona. So, great game, but I have Alabama moving on to their first ever Final Four. They've been a really, really good team all season long, and they will advance to, as I said, their first ever Final Four. Up next, we've got Marquette versus Oral Roberts. So, great game. Marquette is the real deal. They will advance any Cinderella story of Oral Roberts, but I could definitely see Oral Roberts advancing, but I've got Marquette moving on to the Final Four. The Midwest, we've got... Oh, sorry. Once again, I misclicked. That's supposed to be Houston, not Indiana. I've got Houston versus Texas. So, Houston, a really good team... Texas is a really good team offensively and defensively. And Houston is a very good team defensively. This could be a lower scoring game. Now, the Final Four is in Houston, so Houston will have a huge advantage. But Texas also, obviously, Houston is in Texas. So they will have an advantage in the Final Four as well. So, you have to imagine... Whichever team wins here has a good chance to get the championship and potentially even win it. But a close game. I've got Texas winning. As I said, I'm a really big fan of Texas this season. And Houston, they haven't played the greatest competition in the American this season. I've got Texas moving on, defeating Houston in the Elite Eight. And our final Elite Eight matchup, we've got Kansas versus Gonzaga. Another higher scoring game. I've got Gonzaga advancing to the Final Four. And it's kind of weird, or funny, however you want to look at it, because Gonzaga, this isn't their best team in the past few years. But they're going to make it to the Final Four. And getting to the Final Four, we've got Alabama against Marquette. Great game, but I've got Alabama moving on. I think they're a bit better than Marquette, and they will advance to the national championship game. And so Alabama advances. And Texas versus Gonzaga. So these two teams have already met once this season. Texas easily won that matchup. I'm not saying Texas will easily win this game again, but they've got a good offense, as I said, good defense. Texas will advance to play Alabama in the national championship. And in the national championship, so this is a matchup between two really good teams. Both teams should definitely have the ability to win this game. And here's a fun fact for you guys about the national championship, and it can actually help you pick a national champion. So since Ken Pom began tracking adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency in 2002, 19 of the 20 national champions since then have been in the top 25 in both adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency. In this case, both teams, Alabama and Texas, are in the top 25, so either team would continue that trend. But I've got Texas. They can score, they can defend. They've shown they can beat really good teams. They won the best conference in the Big 12. They've beaten good teams already in the tournament as well as in the regular season. They've shown they could do it all, and I have Texas winning the 2023 NCAA Tournament. And now, so my bracket is filled out. I've got Texas over Alabama. But before I end the video, I just want to go over my top 5 title contenders in case you guys are looking for anything in your bracket. Also, we'll have top 5 first-round upsets and top 5 potential Cinderellas. So my top 5 title contenders, obviously, I've got Texas as 1 because I have them winning. Then Alabama at 2. I've got Purdue at 3 despite having them losing in the second round. I still think they're a very good team. Obviously, not many teams have a player like Zach Edey on their team. 4 is UCLA, despite their injuries. I still think they're a really, really good team. And 5 is Kansas. My top 5 potential first-round upsets. My number 5 potential first-round upset is Iona over UConn. Number 4 potential upset is the winner of Arizona State versus Nevada over TCU. My number 3 potential first-round upset is Penn State over Texas A&M. 2 is Drake over Miami, and 1 is Oral Roberts over Duke. And my top 5 potential Cinderella teams, we've got 5 Penn State, 4 College of Charleston, 3 is VCU, 2 is Drake, and 1 is my Cinderella pick, Oral Roberts. So that's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments who you guys have winning the 2023 NCAA Tournament. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my picks, disagree, and why. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible. And I will see you in the next video.